Dividing fractions. Let's look at dividing a whole number first. Here I have 12 muffins. And if I divide each of these in half, how many pieces will I have? I'll have 24. So 12 divided by 12 is 1, and 12 divided by 1/2 is 24. Now let's look at dividing two fractions. And I'm going to use the same example of 3/4. So here I have my box, and in the kind of the black dotted, shaded, is the 3 of my 4 parts. So here are my 3/4. Now another way to think about 3 divided by 1/8 is how many 1/8 go into 3/4? How many 1/8 go into 3/4? So if we look at each section here, this is 1/4, this is 1/4, and this is 1/4. I have 3/4. Half of each 3/4 is an 1/8. So how many 1/8 are in 3/4? Well, here are 2, here are 2 more, and here are 2 more. So the answer is 6. There are 6 1/8 in 3/4. Now, one of the things I want to show you is I can check my answer. Remember, your answer times your divisor should give you your quotient. So 6 multiplied by 1/8, and I'm going to use my cancel law here. 2 goes into both 6 and 8. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I end up with 3/1 times 1/4, which is 3/4, which was my original dividend. And then over here I didn't check my answer, but we can. 24, which is my quotient, multiplied by my divisor. And I'll put my 24/1 to make it a fraction. And I'll also use my cancel law here. 2 is a common factor. It goes into itself 1 time and into 24 12 times. So I'm going to rewrite my problem. 12/1 times 1/1 is 12. It ends up being 12/1, but 12/1 simplified is 12, and that's my original dividend. So how do we have a mathematical rule to follow every time we divide our fractions? Let's look at this. We're going to use KFC. KFC, when we're dividing fraction, there's only going to be 2 fractions that we can divide. Whenever we divide, we can only divide 2 numbers at a time. We're going to keep the first fraction, flip the second fraction, then use the cancel law and multiply. Now, if we looked at our original 2 problems, I'll look at the second one, 3/4 divided by 1/8. All right, so let's look at this using these rules. We're going to keep the first fraction. We're going to flip the second. So that becomes 8/1. And then once we flip the second one, it actually turns into a multiplication problem. So we're going to use our cancel law and multiply across as if it were a multiplication. So I can use my cancel law here. 4 goes into 8 2 times, and it goes into itself 1 time. So I'm going to rewrite my problem. 3/1 times 2/1 equals 6/1, which simplifies to 6. So that's the answer that we got. So we want to keep the first, flip the second, use the cancel law, and then multiply. Okay, forgot what I was going to say. All right, so let's look at an example. Okay, so here we have 45 over 7 divided by 7 over 3. Now, it may be tempting to use our cancel law here, but if we do, we're going to end up with the wrong answer. We can't use our cancel law until we flip the second. So if we look at this, 45 over 7 times 3 over 7, I have nothing that I can cancel out here. So in this case, I'm just going to have to multiply across. 7 times 7 is 49, and 3 times 45 is 135. So my answer ends up being an improper fraction, which is okay. It can't be simplified any further. It's okay as long as the answer doesn't ask for any other form. If it asks for a fraction, improper fraction is fine. Okay, now let me talk a little bit about flipping the second. When we flip a fraction, the result of the flipping has a name. It's known as a reciprocal. So I'm going to have this little table here, reciprocal of some fraction is. So the reciprocal of negative 1/2 is negative 2 over 1, or negative 2. Notice I keep the sign with it. The reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. So we're just flipping the fraction. If the fraction happens to have a sign, we would keep the sign with the reciprocal. And that's all the reciprocal is. It's just a fraction flipped. Now if we happen to have a whole number or an integer, I'll use negative 5. That's not written as a fraction. To get the reciprocal, we merely put it over 1. So the reciprocal would be negative 1/5. So that's what a reciprocal is. And we want to remember when we are dividing our rules for dealing with signed numbers. If we divide two negative numbers, our final answer will be positive. And if we divide a negative and a positive, then our final answer will be negative. And the same rules go for multiplication. When we're multiplying or dividing fractions or whole numbers that are signed, it's always the same rules. Two negative values involved in the operation make the answer positive, and one negative makes the final answer negative. So just keep those rules in mind, and you'll be getting all the right answers.